Awesome. And what else? Alternative to Zoom, NCTV live streams all of the town meetings on their YouTube channel link, youtube.com/Norfolk Cable. Okay, here we go.
Awesome. So we actually have our first hearing for 3 Meadowbrook Way for a local upgrade approval with John Glassa. Eileen, I sent you, do you have the preamble? The preamble I sent you?
I do. Let me scroll down. Just kind of so much stuff on the computer. So a variance hearing from Board of Health Regulations is called to order for June 22nd, 2021. It is my duty to inform you that you will have to provide the Board of Health with data to support your request for a waiver of Board of Health requirements, and that if you do not receive the waiver, it will do you manifest injustice. You will also have to show that what you intend to do is environmentally acceptable.
All right, John.
Here we go.
Go on. Do you want me to try to share my screen, Betsy, or no?
Yeah, so let me I will make you the host so you can screen share. Okay, here you go.
Let me see what happens. If I can find it.
Okay.
I know it's around here somewhere. And I may know. I should have put them in order. Am I the only one seeing that?
Yeah, you
Okay,
are.
hang on. Let me try it again.
One more time. If not, then we can just explain what you're requesting.
Not really getting it. It's hiding on me.
That's all right. You can maybe just explain verbally what it is that you're requesting, and then we can go from there.
All right. Okay, well, what it is, unfortunately, I
I was gonna
can't.
say, if you want to just make me host.
Oh, now you're giving me.
I know. Right next, if you see right next to you see my name.
Yeah.
If you say make
It
host.
does. Next to your name?
Well, if you click on my name.
Yeah.
And then it says there's more, and then it'll say make host.
It does?
It should.
Hmm?
Otherwise, I'm gonna go to bed and you're gonna have to run.
I'll see where it's. If I double click on your name?
So hold on. So over on the side.
Boy.
Do you see my name?
Yeah.
If you click
You
on
mean
it,
your name where your picture is? Where you are?
over on the side where under participants.
Oh, oh.
There we go. I'm the host now. All set.
You're the host. So I'm unhosted.
Yep, that's okay.
So-
So carry on.
All right. Well, I'll just go through quickly because I think it's very simple. So it's number 3 Meadowbrook Way. Meadowbrook Way is off of Cleveland Street. So if you were sort of heading up Cleveland Street, I guess, towards Fruit Street, Meadowbrook Way is on the right side. I know that it's on Cleveland Street. It's near number 54 because we did that a couple of months ago, and this is very close to that. So basically, what happened here is we tried to do soil testing while we did the soil evaluations. We tried to do perk tests, but the water table was very high. The water table was weeping into the soil at 65 and 78 inches. There's a lot of fill placed over the soil, so we needed to get down to either 89 or 94 inches to do a perk test. And obviously with weeping higher than that, that was impossible to do. So with that, the DEP procedure is that we take a soil sample in that layer where we would normally do the perk test. And then we bring it to a lab for sieve analysis. So I use Filch Engineering, which is a company out of Boston, but they have the closest satellite to where I am is in Cranston, Rhode Island, and I bring the samples there, and they do a sieve analysis for it. This is one of their main things that they do. Filch Engineering is materials sampling and analysis. So they came back in this case and said that the soil was sands, which means that we're going to essentially that equates to a 2-minute an inch perk rate. So we designed a system. We used the Presby system just to sort of keep the mound. This is sort of in the front yard of the house, and to keep the mound sort of reasonably not too high. So we have a system with a new septic tank, a new 1,500-gallon septic tank, a pump chamber, and then pumping up into a Presby system. Everything is, other than not doing the perk test, everything is for the most part standard procedure for a septic system. We meet all of the other setbacks to the lot lines, et cetera. And so it's a 3-bedroom house, if I didn't say that. So it's not a huge system. And like I said, it's going to be in the front, sort of off to the right side of the house. And so this house, I think, may have actually been sold. I know it was for sale. Tom Caulfield, my client, is a man, I wouldn't say elderly, but he has a daughter and grandchildren and this and that. So he's looking to sell this house, and I'm not exactly sure where he's going, but he's moving on. Needs to sell the house here that he brought his family up in and move on to other quarters. So and this procedure is allowed by the DEP. So without doing this, we would have to wait maybe until September or October to see if the water table does drop enough to do a perk test down at that depth, which, like I said, was 89, 90 inches below the ground. So it's likely that that might not happen. So as far as manifest injustice, I think that's the injustice, is you would be sort of holding this fellow up to not be able to sell his house. And as far as the same amount of environmental protection, this is a procedure that's allowed by the DEP. We are very careful to make sure that we take good samples. And as I said, we use a very good engineering firm, a big engineering firm, to do the sieve analysis for us. And the design, in my mind, is very conservative. We're not asking for any other um, variances. We're not asking to be lowered to the water table or anything like that. We're just asking that we're allowed to put the system in without having to do the perk test. But I think it's pretty conservative the way it's designed. So I think just as environmentally good as in this design, even if we had done a perk test, I think the result, everything would look the same as it looks now on the plan that only I can see, maybe Wade. So with that, I'll turn it back to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. I read your submission. Is there anything you would like to add?
No, other than good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. No, I did have a peer review on it. John's explanation was pretty good. The sieve analysis is a policy that the state developed many years ago for situations like this. You got environmental conditions out in a job site. You need a septic upgrade, and this would definitely install the engineer ability to size the system properly. So with the sieve analysis, you have a very conservative design, and that's it so far. I did review the plans on this particular job site. I mean, his sieve analysis came back, it looked fine. His design looks fine, and recommend approval. So they go ahead with the permit. Any questions, I'm available.
No, I think it was just that on the this initial document dated June 22nd, you had suggested that you had not received the results for the sieve analysis as the writing of this peer review, but for 3 Stillwell Ave, not for,
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah.
So this one is,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I combined both of the peer reviews together since it's so similar. I figured I'd just put into one just so it wouldn't be so redundant. The two reports wouldn't be so redundant. But I did see the sieve analysis for this particular one. I was able to review the application.
great. Andy, do you have any questions?
No. I went through the regulations and understand exactly what's going on. I'm good.
Okay, so you feel comfortable with this as well?
Yep.
All right. So do I hear a motion from Andy to grant the construction permit application for 3 Meadowbrook Way?
So moved.
I guess I'm going to second it.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we have granted the disposal system construction permit application for 3 Meadowbrook Way.
So could I just ask you to revise your motion just to move to grant the variances as requested? So
Okay.
you're actually you're not approving the disposal construction permit, you're actually just granting the variance to allow the soil absorption system to be designed and constructed without a percolation test.
Okay. I might be able to say that. I got the first part. Sorry, Mr. Gloss, this is my second meeting as chairperson, and I don't have all the verbiage correct at this point. All right, so let me revise my motion. So I move to grant the variance as requested. Betsy.
Yeah.
And how do I finish that statement?
Sure, to allow the soil absorption system to be designed and constructed without a percolation test as allowed by DEP policy.
All right. I'm writing as fast as I can, but
It's actually, if you just read what I've written on the agenda.
oh, All right, well, that might be helpful. I
Yeah.
do have that agenda. Okay, all right, so that might work for me. Okay, so I move to grant the variance as requested for local upgrade approval request to allow the soil absorption system to be designed and constructed without a percolation test as allowed by DEP policy with John Glossa. I think I'm done with that. So now, Andy, you have to second that one again.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I'm not good at this yet.
No, we'll get there. Don't worry about it.
You did a great job, but that's a good point that Betsy brought up, because it is, when we're reviewing it and a sieve analysis comes up, the review stops. You can't continue with review until the board recognizes that a sieve analysis is being used in the design and for allowance of that to be with the design. And since you allowed it, now the review can continue and the permit can actually be approved and installed. So that's a good point that Betsy brought up.
All right.
I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, I've been listening for a long time, but never had to conduct the meeting. Okay,
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to guide you.
I appreciate it.
No
Um,
problem.
Okay, so should we ask Mr. Glossa to move on with the second?
So we've got very exact, pretty much the same request for 3 Stillwell Ave. Eileen, if you would just open the hearing by reading that variance preamble.
Yes.
For 3 Stillwell Avenue.
Back up there. So a variance hearing from the Board of Health Regulations is called to order for 3 Stillwell Avenue. It is my duty to inform you that you will have to provide the Board of Health with data to support your request for a waiver of Board of Health requirements, and that if you do not receive the waiver, it will do you manifest injustice. You will also have to show that what you intend to do is environmentally acceptable.
Okay, again, it's John Glossa. This time my client's name is Mark Doyle. He's at 3 Stillwell Ave. So if we were going up Cleveland Street and we took a left on Fruit Street past the farm there, Paul and Jane's farm, and all the way up the top of the hill, and then Stillwell Ave goes off to the left. And this area is a little bit challenging for most of the septic systems that we do in this subdivision, and this being one of them. So as you go down from Fruit Street, this is essentially the first house on the left side. And it's a 5-bedroom house. Fortunately, it's sloping ground, and I'll explain that to you why later, where the one that you just acted on was flat as a pancake. And I think these houses were built in the mid to late 1970s. So they did have a septic system there that lasted them a long time. And now, again, Mark Doyle, sort of getting to the age where, you know, he wants to sell and move into a smaller house, is going to be putting this house on the market. He called me, we went out, you know, did our surveying, did our soil testing. And again, this is an area of a high water table. Last year, we did the house right across the street from this, and I think ended up doing the same procedure that we're asking for you to do now. And that is that, you know, we dug down, we established water table, but essentially we established that the weeping was coming in at 58 inches. We needed to get down, you know, deeper than that to do a perk test in the C layer. I think we actually tried to do a perk test, but what was happening is that the water's actually kind of bleeding into the perk test hole rather than the water leaching out of the perk test hole, which is really what we want to see happen. So in this case, we took 2 samples, again, brought them to Filch Lab, in Cranston, Rhode Island, and they came back. And in this case, we were pretty sure we knew what they were going to end up with, and it was sandy loam. So sandy loam, under the procedure laid out by the DEP, essentially turns into a 30-minute an inch perk rate. So we use a long-term acceptance rate of 0.33. Again, just to try to avoid having that sort of what everybody calls that ugly mound with the candy cane vent in the middle of it. We use a Presby system, which allows us to be a little bit lower to the water table than a conventional system, but it also provides more treatment than a conventional system. So because this is sloping ground, we're able to do this by gravity. So we're going to put in a new 2,000-gallon septic tank, because it's a 5-bedroom house. So it's a 2,000-gallon, 2-compartment septic tank. Essentially, we're putting that in the location of the existing septic tank, and we're going to come out of that sort of running downhill, kind of catching up to the slope, if you know what I mean. And then we're going to put this system, which is, raised up fairly, essentially the bottom of this system is the existing ground that's out there. So it's kind of raised up, but because it's sloping ground, we can sort of make it work into the topography. And because this is a fairly large lot, 30,000 square feet plus, we have plenty of room to do that. There are wells in the area, but because we worked in this area before, we already had those locations of those wells in our system. So we show those wells on the plan. We're staying at least 100 feet back from all of the wells. The existing well on this lot, which is currently being used by the occupant, Mark Doyle, he wants to connect to the water system. So we're showing the house being connected to the water system. And essentially, we just said that the existing well is going to be abandoned as a potable water well. So that leaves him the option of turning it, or the next owner of turning it into an irrigation well, if they would like to do that. So again, manifest injustice, this is an area where I think the water table stays high for a long period of time throughout the summer. So it would really sort of make it very difficult for him to sell his house, because he can't sell it without, at a minimum, a septic system that's approved by the local Board of Health. And as far as being environmentally acceptable, again, procedure that's laid out by the DEP when they anticipated that, this was going to be a problem if they didn't allow some sort of procedure like this. So that was laid out by them. And again, I think it's very conservative the way it's done. A 30-minute inch rate. This system is going to be 14 feet wide by 72 feet long. So it's a fairly good sized system. But it's sort of, I went over this with the owner and kind of had a pretty good idea of what this was going to look like. And he was happy with this because it sort of extends his lawn a little bit, doesn't really encroach on anybody, kind of might even be, I know it's going to cost him a little bit of money, but it might even be a little bit of an enhancement to his property because his lawn will be that much larger. And he has a lot of trees in this location that are like literally covered with bittersweet, the vines that strangle the trees. So if he can get some of that stuff out of there, I think his yard will actually look a bit better than it does right now. So that's pretty much it. Same routine. We don't do this as a matter of course. We only do it where we need to do it. So that's why we're asking for it. So I'll turn it back to the board, and they can ask me or Wade any questions. Oh, I have to tell you, Wade, if he can see the plan, I mean, I PDF'd it to Betsy maybe around 2 or 2:30 today. But it's, again, Wade will review this for, anything that needs to be revised in his review, but we're just sort of looking for the okay to go forward with the plan with the local upgrade approval. And then Wade will handle any of the tweaking of the plan that needs to be done.
Yeah, the plans were actually submitted into the office today, Wade, so you'll get those on Thursday, so you can start your review on those.
All right, yeah, thank you.
But just not to put stuff in Wade's, words in his mouth, but Wade was, we did kind of go over what the design would be when we were out there. So, and that's what it looks like exactly, Wade. So you don't even have to look at the plans, just approve them.
Yeah, of course, John. That's exactly what you'd like.
It's exactly the way I described it to you out in the field.
What I did, that, that's true. We're out there. There's a lot of shop talk going on, and we discuss what the design's going to be like. So I have somewhat of an idea prior to comes into the office, but it is the details. I did take a real quick glance at it on a digital aspect on it, and just to see if it was a pump system or not. It's good to see that it was a gravity fed system, and you kept you 100 feet away from the wellhead too. So that looks pretty good.
Yeah,
So,
we're even 100 feet from his well, but he told me he wants to abandon that well. That well might have a water quality problem. I'm not sure.
yeah, all those
We're
wells.
even 100 feet from his, 100 feet from the one across the street at number 6, and then 100 feet or more, well more than 100 feet from the one, I'm not sure that number, that it must be maybe number 5, the one that's across on the other side of Mohegan.
Yeah, I like to report to the board. When I was out there witnessing the soils and percolation tests, I knew that this board meeting was coming tonight, and I knew there was one sieve analysis policy recognition already on the agenda, and it was John's. So when we were out there, finding that the soils again were difficult, and there's an environmental issue out there for performing the percolation tests, I suggested John to piggyback on this public hearing to get the sieve analysis accepted. While we're out there doing the work, we were discussing design, and he thought he wouldn't need any more variances. So the application is submitted with that risk on John's side. So if in a review, if any other variances might pop up, then he'll just have to come back to the board to get recognition for it. But he feels pretty comfortable with the design, that I only needed sieve analysis to complete the review on the permit. And what John was discussing about the environmental conditions, it's true. I witnessed it. The soils were wet. It would the reason why we started a percolation test to see if the groundwater would affect the percolation rate, and it did. It was slowing it down, so it wasn't in the best interest of the homeowner for economically, because you'd have a crew out in his yard probably for another 4 or 5 hours. And also it would probably enlarge his system unrealistically. So the engineer decided to go with a sieve analysis, and here we are tonight. So I recommend the approval for the sieve analysis so we can continue on with that permit review. If you have any other questions, I'm here to answer it.
Okay, so I'm having questions just in terms of how to word the approval. So we're still pending the sieve analysis?
No, well, I would say you would probably read how the public hearing variance is written that Betsy gave you. So you're allowing a sieve analysis to be used instead of a percolation test. And when the packet comes in, I'll review the work. And if it's not correct, then I'll talk to the engineer, or if we have to go back to the board, we'll go back to the board, but it's really unlikely that would happen. But what you're recognizing is that this plan that he's submitting in, he's using a sieve analysis instead of his percolation rate, and he needs you to accept that.
Okay.
You as the board.
So just to be clear, we did receive the sieve analysis from Filch, so we're not guessing on what it is. It's been, unfortunately today, but it's been submitted. So it did come back as sandy loam. So it was what Wade and I had classified the soil as when we were out in the fields. And then it was confirmed through the sieve analysis. So we have the sieve analysis. It's in the Board of Health office. It's just I didn't get it up there today until around 5 or 5:15 or so. But you do have it, and it is sandy loam, both
And just,
samples.
and just let the board know, the interpretation of the sieve analysis isn't a very difficult thing to look at. It's just broken down to sand, silt, and clay in its percentages. So it's not like it won't be like a mystery of what the results are, what classification will be. It's
Okay.
either if it is, it's not. So.
Andy, do you have any questions?
No, believe me, I've done enough sieve analysis in my days as a grad student, so I know. I know what it's looking at. So I'm good.
All right, this is all fun for me. Okay, so I move to grant the variance for 3 Stillwell Ave as requested to allow the soil absorption system to be designed and constructed without a percolation test as allowed by DEP policy with John Glossoff.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that is passed. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks. Have a good night. Thanks, Betsy. Thanks, Wade. Thanks, members of the board. See you again.
Good night. Have a good night, John.
Thank
Talk to
you.
you later.
Thanks, Betsy.
All right, hopefully I will get all my words in order at some point. I'm going to write this all down on the back of my hand. All right. So next on the agenda, we're going to approve the minutes for May 25th. I took a look through there and I did not see anything that I thought was incorrect.
No, I have no comments, no edits.
Right. All right. So I move to accept the minutes for May 25th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this is great. Moving right along. So new old business.
So I don't know if you might be working off an old agenda. Ed, we've got Ashley Atwood here from 49 Circle Road.
Okay. Probably working off an old agenda because why wouldn't I be? Just so much stuff. Okay. And we have a new agenda. There is a new agenda. Nope, I still see that in the packet that you sent. So
Yeah,
that's
fine.
all right. So Betsy, just you tell me what we have going here with.
So we have Ashley Atwood on with us,
Yeah.
49 Tucker Road. This was sort of a continuation, I think, from 2 or 3 meetings ago, regarding the number of bedrooms allowed with her current septic tank size. Ashley, you can unmute yourself and you can present.
Hear me?
Yes.
Just want to make sure. Okay, so good evening, everybody. I appreciate your time in discussing the septic situation again at my house. I sent a document to Betsy. I'm not sure if that went around to everybody.
Yes.
Okay. So I hope it provided some clarity on the circumstances, and the floor plan provided some context of the room I am describing so everyone has a clear understanding. Basically, our objective is to build a functional bedroom to replace bedroom number 4 in our house. I don't want to waste time rereading everything, but I guess just to summarize a few things. Our house, in my opinion, kind of remains a 4-bedroom house, at most 4.5 bedrooms. The space being discussed could not possibly take more than 1 person, so it would be a maximum occupancy of 9 people. I think everyone would agree that our tank could handle 4.5 bedrooms. Our documented design flow that when we bought the house was approved at 660 BPD. We would be less than that with the current project. Depending on how you see the house, it would either be 440 or 550 GPD, depending on that bedroom count. And our actual flow averaged 100 GPD when they did our analysis. I believe based on the potential flows from my house, a 2-compartment tank is better for the environment than a single tank, even though the single tank, our system would clearly be acceptable by DEP standards. So that's a little confusing to me, but I mean, that's the gist of it. If you have additional questions or you weren't able to go through the document, I can provide more details. Just let me know.
I know we discussed this, Phil, again, maybe 2 meetings ago, and Wade had some comments previously. Andy, were you able to take a look at this as well?
I did. I actually went back and watched the meeting where Tom had expressed his opinions as well, and I think I understand both sides of the situation, but at the same time, I think we're sort of looking at 3 components of this system. The leaching field, what can handle the current tank, and irregardless whether it's a single or a double wall tank, and then the amount of water that's going in. And I come to my sticking point is that the first compartment of that tank is less than it's 1,000 gallons or a little bit less, and I'm not sure if that's the concern. I'm looking at it from simply the perspective of mass balancing of the flows here, and I'm not sure if that's the issue, or is there something that could be done with that tank by removing that second removing the compartment between the 2 baffles, which to me doesn't make sense to do. And then when it comes down to the bottom line is you're suggesting that a larger tank should be put in. Is that correct?
Is that questions to me, Andy? Yeah, it's compliance. A 2-compartment tank has certain design requirements, even if no matter how much flow you have into it. It's just a standard design requirement is that the first compartment has 48 hours detention hydraulic time, and the second one has 24. That's how you size 2-compartment septic tanks. The particular house on Tucker Road is a 4-bedroom house. It fits the 1,500 2-compartment tank. If you increase the number of bedrooms, the 2-compartment tank becomes too small. It's a non-compliance.
And I guess the sticking point seems to be is how many bedrooms do we really have, and if one of the existing bedrooms, becomes something else, how does that fit into this whole situation? I think that might be, if we could come to a consensus on how to address that seems to be the issue. The regulations, as I've read them, it's not super clear on upgrades. I mean, I did look through Title V completely, and the number of the word upgrades, there's 100 and something references to upgrades, and nothing ever mentions changing an existing system to accommodate another bedroom. It's all associated usually with a replacement or a. So I'm not sure if there's a guidance document that DP may have. So that's I guess I'm
excuse me, Andy. When you increase, it's because you're missing it. If you increase the design flow from a building, it's considered new construction. Okay. So an upgrade is when you're not increasing design flow. That's an upgrade. That's a repair. So when you add on bedrooms, it turns into new construction. So that's another part of the code that you can read and look at. So if you add on design flow, it's new construction. What was approved for the Tucker Road property, I went through it with Mrs. Atwood, is that she has a 4-bedroom house, and there's a smaller bedroom that she'd want to use for her son's computer room, etc. And by working with the floor plan, she extended a closet, kept the existing closet in the room, and the floor plan became under 70 square feet, so that considered a non-bedroom. So her house is still a 4-bedroom house with a small little, I guess, computer room, which is under 70 square feet. So that's not considered a sleeping area. It's not considered a bedroom. So that's where her design flow stayed the same. So it wasn't like a new construction. If she went into going to a 5th bedroom, then it would be considered new construction. Does that make sense?
Can I just add something? I know it was a 4-bedroom, but our design document said it was 660 BPD based on 165 gallons per a day per bedroom. Therefore, our design flow never changed, so this would not be considered new construction by Title V.
But excuse me, the 165 added on the garbage grinder. The engineer designed a 660 leaching field to accommodate the 150% increase for leaching field, which is required for a garbage grinder. Town of Norfolk at the time, any new construction, you had to design a garbage grinder and a design flow. So the engineer did 165 per bedrooms because there's 4 bedrooms and had and that was for the leaching facility size. But if you did notice, his tank is still 1,500, where his first compartment is for a 4-bedroom 880 and the second compartment 500 is for 440. The septic tank is designed for a 440 gallons per day flow, which is for a 2-compartment tank. And that hasn't changed. So the design, the way he put his numbers down is the way he put his numbers down, but still the design itself, the tank, the 1,500 gallon tank, 2-compartment tank, and the 660 gallons per day leaching facility size is for a 4-bedroom house with a garbage grinder.
Okay, because the document, in the way I read it, it looked like 660, and when we contacted Dunn McKenzie, they had said that nothing changed, so they were confused why they needed to do it in the first place.
Well, I'm unfortunate they communicated you like that, but they haven't communicated with me. The engineer has not come on to the meeting to explain himself. And I'm sorry that letter that the engineer wrote about the 660, about the house being a 6-bedroom house was incorrect.
Okay, because that's what they have from the design, and it was certified approved, and that's how we bought the house. So for us, seems like we're being penalized for
well, you bought a 4-bedroom house with a garbage grinder.
that came with the design documents that stated 660 gallons per day.
For the leaching facility, which is for leaching area for a 4-bedroom house with a garbage grinder and a design flow, and that's correct.
So so you're considering that design flow different than the 440 design flow that you're stating?
No, the 660 is 150% larger than the 440, which is required for a use of a garbage grinder in your wastewater design flow.
Correct, and that's why we went and got the deed restrictions stating we will not have a garbage disposal.
Correct, yeah, correct. You did, yeah. But still with a 2-compartment tank, you'd have to increase your size of your 2-compartment tank if you wanted that 660 bedroom. Because the leaching facility met for 6-bedroom design, but the septic tank did not. So if you wanted to continue on with a 6-bedroom house, you would have to either come with a single tank, or if you stay with a 2-compartment tank, it would have to be larger. Your 2-compartment tank is inadequate for a 6-bedroom house. 1,500 gallon tank.
That's so unclear to me, as it was 660, and when I called, it seemed like it was still 660. That shouldn't be considered new construction, and I'm a little confused because this all started when we asked for that bedroom, considered a small bedroom, and you were the one that suggested I go this route and contact Dunn McKenzie, so I'm a little confused.
Well, yeah, I did. It's in a regulation, but Mr. McKenzie, Dunn McKenzie Engineering Company consulted you, I guess. They should have suggested that you had to upgrade your septic tank in order to get your 660. And that's why the regulation says it has to be re-permitted through an engineer. So an engineer plan will come in, we get to review it and see what was going on. And that tank is undersized. So the regulation, it's in the regulation. But just because it's in a regulation doesn't mean all existing septic system designs fit. Some of them would have to be readjusted. But if you have a 4-bedroom house and you want to convert to a 6-bedroom house, and all you have to do is upgrade the septic tank, that's a really good deal for a lot of homes. Some homes would have to reconstruct the whole leaching facility. So I mean, so out of that regulation of utilizing an old system, I mean, your leaching facility would fit, but your tank is too inadequate for going from a 4-bedroom to a 6-bedroom house. It's just too small. It just doesn't fit what the Title V requires. You require a larger tank for settlement purposes if it's a 2-compartment tank.
And I think that's where it's a little unclear, and I think that was evident, because as you know, I contacted someone from DEP, and they originally said that our tank was big enough, and then after you spoke with them, they kind of changed their mind, and we spoke to various people. So I think it's how you read that Title V, and it seems like it's even not clear within DEP. For to need a 2-compartment tank, you have the 1,000-gallon per day or a garbage disposal, and we have neither. So it's a question of whether we need to comply with those next steps that are necessary because of the 2-compartment tank. Because if we had a 1-compartment tank, we'd be compliant. However, a 2-compartment tank is supposed to be better than a 1-compartment tank, and now we're not compliant. That, I mean, it's the science of it seems. I know there's how you read the regulations, but it seems like we have a better system than a 1-compartment, yet we'd be compliant with that, and we're not with the better system. That's a little confusing to me.
Well, Title V requires certain design flows must have a 2-compartment tank. There are certain requirements of certain establishments and the size of them, what's being used in it, where they must have a 2-compartment tank. But it doesn't say that you can't use a 2-compartment tank on other projects that wouldn't require it. But if you do use a 2-compartment tank, then you must design it with the hydraulic detention times of 48 hours for the first tank and 24 hours for the second tank. It's also written too when you have 2 tanks in series, which is also an alternative to a 2-compartment tank. The 2 tanks in series is designed the same way. 48 hours hydraulic detention time for the first tank and 24 for the second tank. It's a very standard thing. Even back in the code prior to 1995, code of 1978 code, that code required 150%, not 200%. But even you go back in history of Title V designs, tanks were always, the first tank is always increased higher. I mean, you know, the hydraulic detention time is increased in the first tank. And it's the same thing as this Title V too. They just increased it to 48 hours for the first tank and 24 for the second tank. I'm surprised that your engineering company did not consult you with this. It's unfortunate. If you'd like to sit down with them, I'm more than happy to sit down with them. We can discuss it, and you can actually hear it from the horse's mouth. I like to hear it from them also. Because I think that's where it's coming from. You're sitting onto this letter saying this is what they said, but it's incorrect. And I'm not sure if you talked to them. They're not here tonight representing you. So that's a lot of flags flying for me.
But it's not just them. I spoke with various people in DEP, and it is read differently even by the experts. I've contacted them.
Excuse me? No, but
the lawyer who we both talked to, he had agreed that it was big enough until you spoke with him. So it's clear that it's not a consistent read, even for the expert. Yes.
Well, I looked at that email. He got like a text from a phone. And I'm not sure, I can't speak for the gentleman. I'm not sure how busy they are, but the state is weaning away from Title V designs. I mean, they used to be really involved with Title V designs. They would actually, like this, for instance, the 2 variances that the board gave tonight, sieve analysis used to go to the state. Now they're kind of giving it to the local board. Shared systems are now going to local boards. Sanitary tight tanks are now going to local boards. Retaining walls are now going to local boards. Before, the state used to review them and improve them with the boards, with local approval, then it went to the state approval. But over the years, they've been weaning a lot of their work away from their office, the state level, to the local level. So they're not using it all the time. They're not in the books, they're not looking at designs, they're not consulting people with systems under 10,000 gallons per day. There are more expertise that's going 10,000 gallons and greater. So I'm not sure if you caught them off guard. I'm not sure what was going on, but when I contacted him, I just went through the standard regulatory requirements. And he wrote back and said, "You're right. I didn't look at it hard enough." I mean, it's people make mistakes, but here we're compliant. But this is a very strict, straightforward numbers game. You know, it's numbers. It's a volume of a tank, flow going in and flow going out. It's very simple.
Okay, but would you agree that a 2 compartment is better than a single compartment, and that my tank would be okay if it's a single compartment?
I review plans for compliance, and I have my own personal feelings on a lot of different things on designs. And yes, sometimes designs are conservative and stuff, but when you review these regulations or the designs, you look for consistency, for compliance, and it has to be worked out. It has to be given, it has to be worked out for the whole community itself. Everybody who has a 2 compartment tank has to go with the 48 hours and the 24 hours. It's just standard. Mr. Glasser himself tonight mentioned he had to upgrade the house on 3 Stillwell to a higher tank, a 2,000 gallon tank because of the bedroom size. So I mean, it's just a standard requirement that that designs have to do. Actually, we had one tank that was a single compartment tank, and it had to change, it had to be increased larger because now the town requires 2 compartment tanks. So that person now has a larger septic tank to meet their the 2 compartment requirement hydraulic detention time. So you're not the only one in town that has the feelings of tanks have to be changed to meet the regulation. So it doesn't really matter what I think or my opinion is. It's more what the regulatory codes require for a standard design for on-site septic system for a residential house. That's how it's reviewed.
So Ashley, would you be willing to meet with Wade and your engineering group together to kind of have this discussion together? Would that be okay with you? Would that be appropriate? How do you feel about meeting with everybody together to kind of maybe get to a consensus?
I can see if they're available. I've been talking mostly with DEP lately, but I will see if there's a time that's available.
Is that who you'd like to meet with too, Wade? Is that the appropriate?
Well, I think if Mrs. Atwood contacts the engineering company she originally contacted with, who consulted her and told her that this would work, she can go back to them and say, this is what the results were, and hear what they have to say. If she still feels that she wants to have a meeting with myself in it and the engineer and herself, I'm more than happy to do it. But I think the first step is that she should probably go back to Dunn McKenzie and say, look, this is what happened to me over the certain time frame, and can you give me an explanation on it? I think that would be a first step.
So you hadn't contacted Dunn McKenzie again since we met the first time, or have you?
I have, and they kind of read it their way. They didn't have any changes to their design, so I'm not sure what he's looking for in meeting with them. Because I have talked to them, and I believe way back, you even directly contacted them and had some discussions.
Andy, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
No, I sort of can understand where the logjam is, and you know, I think just getting everybody together at some point to hash out the difference. And I don't think it's a you know, it's a huge inconvenience at this point, but at the same time, I mean, making sure that it does meet the regulations. I mean, that's the objective. It'd be one thing if there was a variance or anything else we were being asked to look at. That was unusual, but yeah, I think just getting everybody back on the same page and talking was probably the best place to start, and then go from there.
I mean, it started as a request for variance for the bedroom, but that was denied. I mean, I don't know if you saw the floor plan.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah, it's
a bedroom, so I don't see this even being a 5-bedroom house. That is the only closet for that room at that point.
Well, I believe what the Form A permit application was approved was for a 4-bedroom house. And you and I worked over the floor plans. I'm not sure if it's changed or not, but what was signed off by the office was a 4-bedroom house with a small little computer room.
We had done that to comply until we could figure this out, and we will do that if that's what is needed to be done, but we really think that decreases the livability of our house, how we like our home, and we don't think it's worth spending thousands getting a bigger tank when it's not going to be used. We used 100 gallons per day in our analysis. There's various things that seem to not be going our way. We feel the 660 gallons per day hasn't changed, so we shouldn't be considered new construction because design flow not changing by Title V is not new construction. And our original design document said 660 gallons per day. So that part's confusing. We recommended to go this route and then being told it's not going to work. That's a little tricky.
I don't think it was explained to you properly. I'm unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. But you have a 4-bedroom house, and the 660 represents the additional sizing of the leaching facility because the house was required to have design with use of a garbage grinder.
Only design stated on our design.
I didn't get you. I got garbled. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
sorry.
didn't hear.
The 660 gallons per day is the only flow rate that is listed on our design document.
Well, that's because the engineer decided, put it that way. But if you look at the size of the tank that was approved, it's for 4-bedroom house.
No, I mean, I certainly understand the dilemma that you have, Ms. Atwood. I absolutely understand. And I guess if we were to try to, have that meeting between your engineering group and Mr. Saucier, and just maybe have that last conversation or a conversation they could come to some agreement, maybe that would help us point everybody in the right direction. I know it sounds kind of complicated. I feel bad. I mean, I understand this is not my strong suit, garbage grinders and septic systems, but I do trust Wade's opinion. And if he feels that it's inappropriate, inappropriately sized, or we can't add on another bedroom, I feel like I have to take his word over your engineering group, unless maybe they have that conversation to discuss it.
Okay, I mean, I know their opinion and I know Wade, so I see it ending the same way, to be honest with you.
Well, I can guarantee you, if you have the design engineer, not the staff that's sitting in the office, in the room, I can't see how he could go the route you're taking. Because it's not logical. It's just, the tank is undersized for a 6-bedroom house. Now there's cases where the town used to require a garbage grinder for all new construction homes, and a lot of developers would get really upset because their homes didn't have a garbage grinder in it, but they were designing for a system that would handle a garbage grinder. So they were over designing their systems. And some of the areas, it cost them a lot of extra money because the soils weren't very permeable. So the systems had to be larger. So they were building 150% larger size leaching area, which cost them thousands of dollars more, where their customer didn't even want a garbage grinder. So in that case, a lot of people thought the code was unfair also, because they were over designing their system, but the regulations required a garbage grinder in the design flow.
That's what ours is designed. That's how I understood ours was designed. And then we went and
well, yeah, your house was under that regulation, but it was a 4-bedroom house required to have a design for a garbage grinder, and it was designed properly. And the tank size was designed for a 4-bedroom design, which is 1,500 gallon. And the leaching area was increased by 50%. And that's why you see 660. 440 gallons, and 50% of that is 220. So that's where you get your 660. So that's how the 660 came about, because the regulation required a garbage grinder to be in the design. Not the tank though, just the leaching facility.
I thought flow was my understanding, but it doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. It's a little frustrated way that you suggested this route to me, and I've spent thousands of dollars, over $1,000, wasted our time, but
Well, Mrs. Atwood, I'm not responsible for the contractors in town. I'm not responsible for how they work with the residents in town and what their private conversations are. I'm not kind of like the clerk of the works for every single discussion of residents and the engineers or the contractors. I'm not there, and it's impossible for me to be there. I can be involved with it, and I think my voice is for the community. You know, I work for the community. I work for the Board of Health. I work for the the resident side, you know, because it does get technical. So that's what I'm for. So so the regulations there, and it can be used, but you'd have to find someone who can actually discuss it with you and put you through the right permitting process. I mean, they could have called me up too before they talked to you. They could have called me up before they wrote the letter. I'm there. They could have said, "This is what we want to do. What do you think?" I said, "Well, it's not going to work," and we could have a discussion with a lot of people do. I mean, earlier with the other engineer, he actually mentioned on the job site, we discussed what he was going to do. It happens a lot. People discuss how their permits are going to be presented to the town and how that would work with the town regulations. Because you have to remember, each town has different Board of Health regulations. So a lot of these engineers roam around the different towns, and when you and contractors too, septic contractors. So they enter your town, he asks you a lot of questions on how things could be done, because each town has its own quirks and its own regulatory procedures and stuff. And people in my position help these permits go through. They talk to the consultants, and they talk to the homeowners, and they talk to the engineers too. So I can't be responsible for what Dunn McKenzie told you or your conversations with them. I'm not part of it. I'm not part of that
I don't
organization.
think you're responsible for that. It was just, I obviously don't have the experience he does. This whole septic thing's new to me. So when you called about the variance not working, and you told me all I had to do was recertify my septic system, and you told me to call Dunn McKenzie.
Well,
I asked you how much this would cost. You said probably a couple $100. To
well,
me,
I
it
don't,
doesn't cover a new tank, and nothing changed. So
well, Mrs. Atwood, I don't think I would say anything was a couple $100. And Dunn McKenzie's name probably brought up because they were the original designers.
exactly, that's what you told me. You told me they were
And
the
you could,
original
and you could possibly save costs on it because the surveying aspect is already done in there. It's in their database. The septic designs in their database, their as-built in their database. Everything of that property is in their database, and that could save you money if you decide to go to them. If you went to another engineering company, say, sure, we'll come up with it. We want to recertify your land. You know, we want to do this and this, you know, because we want to make sure it's right. It's through our company. That's the advantage of working with a company that's already done work on your property, because they already have in the database. So that's the reason why I suggested that particular, you know, that company. If it was somebody, it was John Smith Engineering Company, I would say try that person. I mean, if you had a plumber, if you wanted to redo your hot water tank and he had a sticker of the previous plumber, I said, gee, call that guy up. You know, he might be able to
No,
help
I
you.
agree. That's exactly what you told me. You told me they did it, so it'd be easier.
And
I wish you had mentioned that the tank wasn't the right size before this started.
that's why the regulations has a recertification on it, except where I'm not the one doing the recertification on it, because I'm also reviewing it, and that'd be kind of a conflict of interest. So I'd be working for you for your permit, and then I'd be reviewing your permit, and then I'd be approving it. It doesn't work that way. So I could help contractors who want to go through permitting procedures. I can consult them, you know, talk to them and stuff, but they're the ones that are certifying it. They're the ones taking it, looking at it logically, engineering it out, knowing how to go through the process, knowing how the size of septic tank. That's pretty fundamental in on-site septic systems, not for the homeowner, but for an engineer. That's pretty standard stuff to know. And they can look at it and say, 2-compartment tank. She wants a 5-bedroom house. I don't think that's going to fit. And then you can consult you. Well, if you want your 5-bedroom, you know, upgrade your tank, which it feels okay. You know, and then you go, oh, I don't like that. What else can I do? So that's the stuff that I'm assuming contractors and engineers do. They consult with you, they kind of give you your options, and you as a homeowner can sit there with your family going, well, we'll take option 1, option 2, option 3, what can we afford? And then go with that option, or find out it doesn't work at all. Then you go, okay, thanks for your time, see you later. So that's, I thought, would be happening. And that's why the regulation says it's a recertification, and the engineer has to take the design aspect itself and absorb it, take responsibility for it. It's not my responsibility. I'm just the one reviewing it.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know that. So it wasn't like I was running the show. I'm not the clerk of the works.
No, I agree. It's just I had no idea about this bylaw, and we would have never went this route if it hadn't been suggested. So I just that
Well,
part was frustrating, but I know Don McKenzie is the one doing the design.
So I guess at this point, if you feel comfortable with kind of the fact that we denied the variance last time, or if you want to bring it back up again after perhaps you get a chance to talk with Dunn McKenzie as well as with Mr. Saucier together, or I mean, it's up to you kind of where we go from here. So if you wanted kind of have that conversation with everybody and then bring it back to us at the next meeting, we'd really be happy and interested to hear what everybody said as a consensus, for sure.
Okay, and I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Okay, well, thank you, Wade. That was very, that was a lot of work, and I appreciate all your time explaining all of that to all of us, including myself. Okay, so moving ahead with our new old business, we have our COVID-19 updates. I know that Mr. Gilbert was continuing to provide us with some reports. And he wrote one as of June 10th. I'm not sure if we have anything more updated than that, Betsy.
No, we don't.
Okay, did everybody receive that in an email? I hope. He had suggested that as of June 10th, the 2-week average COVID-19 infection rate in Norfolk had dropped to 0.0 new cases per day per 100,000 residents. There were no new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Norfolk during the preceding 2 weeks. So that was awesome. So we are continued in the gray category. We are strongly encouraged to continue social distancing, masking, and fully cooperating with our public health team. And as of June 10th, approximately 8,066, which is 64.6%, excuse me, of all Norfolk residents had received at least one vaccination. This vaccination rate, however, was below the average of 7 neighboring towns, which was 72.2%. And the reason that may have decreased the vaccination rate is because the Mass Department of Public Health includes MCI Norfolk inmates among the Norfolk residents. So we highly encourage all eligible Norfolk residents who have not yet received their COVID vaccine to go get them as soon as possible. Anybody else have anything to add to our COVID-19 related business? So actually, I actually do myself. So I had asked Alyssa, our public health nurse, Alyssa Kaiser, the last time, if there was anybody I could speak with at the state to see if we could separate the Norfolk community from the prison community, just to see, because basically when the prison raised our rate of infection, we were tasked with changing some rules and regulations.
Oh, Eileen, you're frozen.
Like,
oh.
To Tropy, the Mass Department of Public Health. And I don't know if the connection is unstable. I hate that.
Yeah.
Am I back?
I think you are.
Should I?
Hold on.
Okay, sorry. I look like I'm alive here.
I think so. Keep talking.
Okay, keep talking. Okay, so Scott Trophy from the Mass Department of Public Health said that other communities had also asked that question. Other communities with prisons or long-term care facilities or nursing homes where the infection rate was increasing the rate within the community. And I guess they decided at the state level to not remove those populations from the town's communities because potentially people working there who lived in the community, so the infection rate could spread potentially. So I guess I felt that was too burdensome on them. Suggested that we could speak to Katie Brown, who is the head of epidemiology for the state. She's a veterinarian, by the way, and I know her pretty well. So I wasn't sure if anybody wanted me to take it that far, but my assumption is that it wouldn't change. So just throwing that out there that I did have that conversation because I asked that question of Alyssa last time we were here. So that's about it for me for COVID news. Anybody else have anything interesting to say about COVID? Andy?
Nope. No, I'm all set.
Okay. All right. Next is the Southwood Hospital public involvement plan update, which I do not have anything about that.
I sat in on the entire thing, and the Reader's Digest condensed version of this is that the LSP of record that did the presentation met the requirements of the public involvement plan site, but was lacking in detail about much of anything. People asked them about remediation and said things were too expensive, or they'd be looking at things. It was very clear that they had not done a lot of homework on the site. They only identified 3 of 5 release tracking numbers, some historical information that people asked him about. He was unaware of. This goes back in the 1980s and even before that. The issue of the use of radium at the prison, at the hospital was brought up, and that was met with. They were aware that radioactive materials were there, but the only reference to any of the DEP reports is that cobalt was disposed of in the landfill. So, needless to say, there's a lot of things that have to be looked at. The public involvement plan group right now is in their 20-day review / comment period, and the comments are actually due to the LSP of record as well as the GFI, the owners, on July 2nd, which is actually more than 20 days, but because of the holidays and other things that went on, they extended it a few more days. So I don't know where it's going to go from there. I mean, they have to respond to all the comments, but it's pretty clear that they were looking at the site at a very high level, and there's a lot of things that they're just not aware of. And there's the neighbors have a history of stuff. There's a few people over there that one woman has written a book, as you may know, of that area, and they've been able to talk to a few former employees there and have brought up things that don't seem to be documented anywhere about incinerators and other waste disposal practices that don't meet current standards and guidelines. So there's a lot of investigation that still needs to be done for this property.
Interesting. Well, that's challenging, I'm sure. And does that kind of segue onto our discussion about contaminated sites in Norfolk?
Nothing has really changed since since the meeting minutes from May on the other sites. I do know that the EPA though is scheduled to go out to some additional testing over the Buckley and Mann site, but to the extent and the timing of that, I just don't know what that is. I know that they were concerned about COVID exposures, but I'm assuming that everybody has been vaccinated at this point, and I haven't heard either way if the EPA has gone out there. They did do some sampling last year or about a year ago, and now they have to go back out again because some of the data is questionable or didn't follow some QA/QC procedures. So they're going to be going back out to do some more sampling. So
excellent. All right. Okay, so moving on to our discussion update on our public health grant program for shared services. So I went to a meeting with Betsy and Blythe, and that was it was really very interesting. So just to kind of reiterate, we received a a public health excellence for shared services grant through the town of Rentham. So there was $300,000 that we can use to regionalize our public health. So we have formed the Metacomet Public Health Alliance with Rentham and Franklin. So we had a meeting June 1st at Norfolk Town Hall with Rentham and Franklin to discuss our public health services together. Although I don't think Franklin was present. Is that correct, Betsy? There wasn't anybody there from Franklin?
No, they were not present.
Okay, so it's just us and Rentham. It was, the meeting was kind of chaired by Kevin Sweet, Rentham Town Administrator, as well as Blythe. And we kind of discussed kind of where to go from here. We ended up sending a letter to thank our current public health nurses, Elaine and Alyssa and Simone, because we are going to be collaborating with Rentham and Franklin, that we didn't need to employ them. So we have kind of ended their contract, which is kind of sad because they were lovely and worked very hard with us over the past year and a half with COVID. So I think this is terrific. This is going to allow us to kind of expand our services. So we have an expansion of our public health inspectional services. The inspectional services program will be housed in Franklin and managed by the Alliance Shared Services Coordinator. The inspectional service program seeks to provide member communities with access to trained, qualified health inspector or sanitarian, and kind of who everything is going to be under. We're going to be expanding our public health nursing services. It's going to be housed in Rentham, and they already have an existing full service clinic. They have on-site space allocated to member communities. So that was very interesting. So the organizational overview will include the Chief Public Health Officer / Program Manager will be Kevin Sweet, who's the Town Administrator for Rentham. The Shared Services Coordinator will be Kathleen Liberty. She's Director of Public Health. What else? And I kind of just went through all these different services that'll be available. So it sounded really like a great idea, and we're looking forward to working together with the other towns to expand our services. Anybody have any questions that I may or may not be able to answer, but I'll give it my best shot. It was a very interesting meeting. It was very, it was great to see everybody get so excited. And then we had kind of a quick rundown on the terrible water damage that they had at Rentham Town Hall because of some boiler leakage. So they're actually, I think, working still out of trailers. Is that correct? Potentially?
They are, yeah. So I actually met with the Rentham nurses, must have been maybe the week before last over at the senior center. So I believe starting July 1, they're going to be actually present at the senior center on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays. So they will be located there. So Norfolk residents can drop in and see them there.
So are we promoting that in any particular way, just through like the COA newsletter or?
Yeah, and we will. So actually they're working on now on a logo for the Metacomet Public Health Alliance. We'll, be doing some flyers and things like that to promote it. So not quite there yet, but we will be.
Good, awesome. All right. Any other comments from Andy or Donna? I see you there too. Do you have anything you have any questions about?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Donna's just quietly in the background. All right.
I'm all set.
Okay, thanks, Donna.
Thank
Just
you for
wanted to make sure.
Thank you for recognizing me.
No problem. All right. So we are going to be setting our next meeting schedule for July 27th at 7 p.m.
Oh, you muted yourself, Eileen, by accident, I think.
I have no idea how that. I didn't touch anything on the computer, I swear. Obviously, it was just they were tired of hearing from me. Okay, so I think July 27th is the next meeting. Does that work for everybody at 7 p.m.?
Does for me.
Perfect. All right. Do we have
any preference to in person, Zoom?
Oh, yes, right. That's going to be the question.
We can continue, if we can continue doing it that way. So, but we can communicate as I know, get a little bit more guidance.
I guess the question became because our board is fairly small and usually our public audience is fairly small. Does that make a difference to anybody? Meeting in like room 124 if we have the option versus kind of the smaller room downstairs.
Yeah, the smaller room downstairs isn't there anymore.
Oh, all right.
That's the town office.
Awesome. Whose office was it?
It's the town clerk's office now.
Oh, okay. See, I have no idea what's going on.
Nobody's been in the town hall for a long time.
What about the room where the town clerk was?
Yeah, that's not, possibly. That's not set up with, we're not, I think they are setting it up with a screen so we can display plans and things like that, but it's not set up for meeting space just yet.
So as a member of the public, Donna, what do you think? How would you see meetings going forward? What would make you comfortable?
I know the state open meeting law used to be every board member needed to be present in order to vote, and the public was allowed to walk in. And the town had the option of voting to allow some board members to be off-site and be virtual, but the town has to choose to do that. At the time, Norfolk Select Board chose not to allow that. And then COVID came and the open meeting laws changed. So one, I don't know what the state policy is right now.
I think they've extended it to April of 2022 in terms of continuing virtual meetings. So there is that extension. So, but we have the option if we feel comfortable, going back to some form of in-person meeting, and maybe just the board meets in person, and then we have the virtual participants. So we're kind of thinking about some kind of a hybrid model. So that's where we're still taking it under advisement, but yeah, he extended it through April 2022.
As a member of the public that follows most committees, I like being able to watch it virtually rather than being there with you.
I mean, I have to believe I would think, and I can't guarantee this, but I would have to believe that that having virtual participants and we've talked about this with some of the other boards that I'm on and committees, that having some kind of virtual presence, even for our continuing education meetings, is probably the way things are going to be going, because it just makes it so much more convenient time-wise for a lot of people to join in who might not have that opportunity to actually, drive or walk or bike someplace. So I don't know that for sure what the town is considering, but what do you think about that, Betsy?
Well, I think I'm hoping it's an option, because I think you do get more people to participate if they're able to log in remotely from home, participate in these meetings, stay informed. So hopefully that'll continue even if we decide to meet in person.
Is there any plan to discuss that amongst the different boards, or is that going to be just a ruling coming down from the select board?
Yeah, I think just waiting for some guidance from the town administrator on that. So
cool. Okay, great.
I'll
Well,
inform you as soon as I hear something.
okay. All right. So no unanticipated new business, I'm assuming.
Actually, I've got one thing. I'll leave it as high level as I can. There's a piece of property off Needham Street that there's a large beaver nuisance problem that's been occurring the past 3 weeks or so. It's been addressed. Norfolk County went out there over the past couple of days, and they'll be initiating the necessary requests to get the Concom and the Board of Health to sign off if they determine this beaver or beavers to be a nuisance. I just got third-hand knowledge that the beaver is a monster, several feet long and very, very large, and it's creating a very large dam. It's been partially removed just because of some of the flooding, just to alleviate some flooding, and it's back in a matter of hours repairing the dam. So
Is it beaver trapping season?
No, the apparently it used to be the regulations were that DCR or the other state agencies, Fisheries and Wildlife, would initiate an order that they could that the beaver could be disposed of or trapped. And now apparently it's another, any state agency can request and petition the town, and Concom and Board of Health have to sign off on that. If there's evidence of property damage or a threat to human health and the environment, that's the reason why both boards are involved. But again, there's a little bit of legwork that has to be done, and Norfolk County is doing that right now as we speak. So we may see this pretty soon.
Is it on DOC property?
Nope, it's on the farm, the horse farm that's off Needham Street.
Okay.
So.
Do we have any ability to, do they just kind of trap them in the traps that drown and kill them, or do we try live trapping and removing them to alternate locations?
That's the recommendation will probably come with the request. But my guess is, since I've seen a dead beaver on the intersection of Needham Street and 115, right as it comes off where the waterfall is off Stony Brook, I've seen one there, and I've seen other beavers as well in the area. And I know off of Seekonk Street, DPW found a beaver in one of the culverts underneath Seekonk Street. There's a lot of beavers around, so I'm not sure what the disposition will be or what the request is. Chances are, if it's a nuisance and it's going to come back, it may have to be dispatched. So.
Not my favorite thing. I'm the veterinarian here. Don't love that part. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that, though. I appreciate the update. Okay, then I think we are going to, can I make a motion to adjourn the meeting, or because I'm the chairperson, do I have to accept a motion from someone else to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second that motion.
Okay.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. So the meeting of June 22nd of the Board of Health is officially adjourned.